I open it, or not really open it up, so I start scrolling, and I stop. And it says on the top, education versus innate. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. And I had thought previously, I want to talk about something to do with education, because as a student, that's a constant theme in my life. So I start reading what BJ wrote, and I started thinking about how I felt about what he was writing. And for me, when we talk about that educated mind versus that innate mind, I've always thought, innate mind was good, educated mind was bad. But as I read it, I started to realize that I don't agree with that anymore. And I don't think that the educated mind has to be this bad thing, right? Because, we all get educated, and education is great. We all want to educate our patients, right? So they know what goes on in their body. And I started realizing that education isn't a bad thing. What I think happens is that our ego kind of takes over that educated mind. And I started thinking about great people in the world who have made these huge differences and changed the world. The Albert Einsteins and the Gandhis and the BJ Palmers. And as I started thinking about this, I realized these were all highly, highly educated people. Albert Einstein, he had so much education, right? But the common theme in all of those people was that they didn't come from a place of ego. They came from a place of innate. And Albert Einstein read all these books on math and science, and I'm sure there were other people reading the exact same books he was reading, but they didn't come up with theory of relativity. He did. So it couldn't have necessarily come from those books. It came from somewhere deep down in here. And I think as students going through here, we think that the education, we don't need the education, we don't need these many classes and all that kind of stuff, which most of the time I agree with. But I'm going to challenge you guys, I'm challenging myself to think maybe the classes and the education isn't so bad after all. Maybe it's the place that we're coming from. Are we coming from a place of ego, where we think, I don't need to know that? Or are we coming from a place of innate, where, wow, look at this, look at what the body does, wow, that's pretty cool. Let's take that inside, let's learn from the inside out, not from the outside in. And so I started kind of thinking about this, well, how do we keep that ego out and be able to be educated, but stay on purpose and stay connected to that innate intelligence and come from a place of innate? And I started thinking about it, and I realized, it's different for everyone. Whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's playing basketball. Do what you need to do to clear your mind and stay connected to innate, so that when you go to those classes, or when you're taking those seminars, and you're learning. Of course, you're learning, you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining education, but you're still coming from a place of that innate, inborn intelligence inside of all of us. So I was reading that, and I was thinking just about my life, and for those of you who don't know, or I keep sharing this with it, both of my parents are chiropractors. I have two uncles that are chiropractors, and my middle sister is actually first quarter at Lake West right now. And I realized, growing up, we grew up in a very chiropractic household. And at a very young age, my parents taught us to stay connected to that innate and live from that innate place. And I think I talked about this last time, but it was in everything we did. We were never really grounded. We were never really disciplined. It was more, they would ask us, how do you feel about what you've done, and what do you think the consequences should be? They knew that they didn't know any better than we did, or we knew better than they did. And it just shows, I just was thinking about how that showed up so much in my life, and coming here and getting all the education, all the classes, it's tough to stay connected to that. It is, I'll admit it. But it's not possible. And if you can stay aware of that, I think that it'll make this education process a lot smoother and a lot more positive. You see a lot of people getting down and getting negative because they don't want to be here, they don't want to learn about these things that they're never going to use. But I'm going to challenge you guys to come from a different angle. from an angle of let's find the chiropractic. You can find the chiropractic in everything. It's everywhere. We know that.